have the crisis in the church right now. I said there is a negative side. That is, we have the Shakahola thing, which is really a big crisis, that a big blow for the church. And we don't know what the government is going to say about this and what the committee is going to bring up. But before we go there, I want us to look, why are all these things happening? Why is it that there is a rise of some churches or some men of God and a lot of deception in the church right now?
I think the Church of Jesus Christ in Kenya is facing a challenge, and several of them. Today I'm going to discuss about or address about maybe 6 issues that can really shed light on why we have cases like of Shakahola and others. One of the problems is theological or doctrinal. The church is faced with a lot of wrong theologies, wrong teachings, and this has made many to be led astray or taken advantage of. Say Christians who are not enlightened, they find themselves in a problem when they meet some of these preachers who have wrong theologies and wrong teachings. So that's one of the key issues. And the cause of this really, this theological pitfalls or problems we are facing as a church is because there is a lot of, maybe many ministers or churches or denominations do not see the need of theological training. And here I have reference to balanced evangelical theological training. Many believe they can just preach based on maybe their charismatic experiences and maybe power, personal experience, and so on. That's one of the key issues. That's what we have. I think it's a theological problem, and which again is doctrinal in nature and philosophical in nature. So number 2, another issue that we are facing as a church is the issue of philosophy of ministry. By philosophy of ministry, I mean here the purpose and meaning of church ministry. Because if the meaning or purpose of ministry, Christian ministry, is wrong, definitely you will find that the practice of that ministry, the preaching ministry, the teaching, the shepherding ministry, or pastoral care will be wrong. So we have a problem in terms of the philosophy of ministry, the purpose and meaning. That's another issue that's there, number 2. Number 3, I think the church is facing the issue that is hermeneutical in nature. But from the theological and the philosophy of ministry, we have an issue that is really hermeneutical in nature. By that I mean the methods of Bible interpretation. I think some of these preachers who have just come in the ministry, in the field of preaching, without theological training, good theological training, they may not have the capacity to handle the Bible correctly. Paul calls us to be men who are able to divide the Word of God, clearly teach, interpret, and then be able to come up with the right teachings, doctrine, and theology. But if a person does not have the skills, it will be very hard to be a competent preacher if you don't have proper training in terms of methods of Bible interpretation. And again, hermeneutics is really key, because it's through hermeneutics that our theology we arrive at our theology. So if the hermeneutical system is wrong, the beginning is wrong, therefore the end shall be wrong, as we see. If the thesis is wrong, then the telo is wrong, as we see in Greek and so on. So I want to say our theology, right theology, is a result again of right and clear hermeneutical system. So I don't think some of these preachers who are not trained are able to really come up with the proper Bible interpretation. They may not even be concerned about this, what they preach and the theologies that they preach. So that's an issue. So now we have seen, one is a theological problem, number two, philosophy of ministry, number three is hermeneutical issues that pertain to the methods of Bible interpretation. And then, of course, the result of bad hermeneutics is that we now have groups of churches that have, or denominations that have really commercialized the gospel. Commercialized. The church is, the ministry is handled like just a commercial enterprise. People are doing business in the name of church, making money. Today, maybe a poor pastor has no place. We rate our pastors according to the sizes of their churches, the cars they drive, the estates where they live, and how much money they have, how educated their kids are, and so on and so forth. So that's commercialization. Again, on the same line, churches have become like personal businesses. We hear many people talk about ministers, talk about my church, my ministry, my altar, my money. Successful pastors, like guys who are doing and competition. This now will bring competition among pastors, hatred, and even witch hunting, because people are rated on commercial basis, and the whole purpose is to get more money and make money. Maybe at times not really preaching Christ. So one issue, the result of bad hermeneutics and theology or doctrine really is we see the commercialization of the gospel and even the ministry itself. So in the church we'll find that, again, we have issues of, as I said, competition among ministers and among denominations, graft and corruption. That's a lot of it. A lot of pastors, you find some of them already have cases pertaining to maybe stealing church money, a lot of it, and so on. It's almost everywhere. Then the other issue, the result again of bad hermeneutics and doctrine is the politicizing of the gospel. There are denominations in Kenya today that preach, they preach the gospel that's more political. There are more political preachers than Bible preaching preachers. I know the Bible can be used to say anything, to teach anything. The Bible has been commercialized. The Bible has been politicized. And most of these preachers of this nature, the commercial and even the political ones, have particular areas of the Bible. Like those ones who have politicized the Bible so much, you will find they will read so much of the Old Testament, particularly the book of Deuteronomy, come to Jeremiah, Isaiah, major prophets, and minor prophets, because of the ministry of those prophets then. So to them, the Bible is basically a political document. Where they read politics in almost every page of the Bible. I don't say the Bible does not address political issues, especially in the context of the life in Israel, the social life, political life, and commercial life, and religious life. But the Bible is not a political book per se. If that's the approach, then something's wrong with the hermeneutical system. That means the system must be either humanistic or very much political system of hermeneutics. So those are the issues. The commercialization, which has resulted into very many private and personal ministries and personal altars, and even personal monies. Again, we also have the issues of like selling of God's grace. Just like the church is almost moving into the time, the 2nd century, 3rd century, and 4th century.
History
is repeating itself. One of the most maybe terrible thing I'm seeing when I'm talking about the grace, selling of graces or whatever ceremonies, is that there is something happening. Maybe we are living towards the end of the world, because already there is maybe in terms of the structure of the church, polity, leadership styles, you'll find that the church is moving toward may become one, because right now there's not much difference so much between the way the Catholics dress, priests, Anglicans, and even Pentecostal churches, for example. You see, there's a lot of, even the address, Thy Holiness, Thy Grace, Bishop so and so. This is done within the Catholic Church, and again you find the Anglican is now moved into the Pentecostal Church. The terminologies and the designations and the reverence. That means the church is moving towards maybe a reunion of the church somewhere along the line. And this again has produced, can I say, even the time in terms of concept like morality, ethics. You will find some of the moral pitfalls or problems that were maybe seen in other denominations are now emerging within the so-called spiritual churches. Like, for example, drinking. Others, I mean, today you talk about the drinking within the whole Church of Christ. You'll find a lot of very different reactions, even from the so-called spiritual churches. Drinking is no longer a problem. Even evil, whatever the people. That's another issue, and these are all the result of hermeneutics and the resultant theologies. For example, the concept of sin, hamartiology, doctrine of sin. Sin is variously interpreted. Some will say there's nothing like sin. Who says there is sin? But we, as evangelical Pentecostals, we believe that the Bible speaks and teaches against sin.
Sure.
Sin is all that's against the will of God. Sin is all iniquities and rebellion and lawlessness against the revealed will of God. So that's an issue, the issues that are there. So some are theological, that's doctrinal, philosophies, and then a hermeneutical system. And then I want to come again now to this. The other issue is the issue of leadership styles. For example, or polity. What I'm saying here is that when churches become like personal properties, then what will happen when that the owner of that ministry that's personal gets into sin? Who will discipline him? He won't be disciplined. The guy is the alpha and omega of that ministry. That is his own. So this one on ministry and commerce, commercial enterprise. We also, and in terms again of leadership, when the spiritual churches have maybe espoused the Episcopalian systems, where we see bishops are like untouchables. Now this again brings a problem, because there's no accountability. Who will touch the bishop? And this type of leadership, the Episcopalian system, has already affected the whole church. In Kenya today, everybody calls himself a bishop, and a diocese and so on, or a district or whatever. They want to appear to be metropolitan bishops. That's an issue, that's their leadership styles and the polity of the church. So that is lastly number 6. Again, the challenge that the church is facing is a lack of balanced and evangelical Bible training. We urgently need ministers of the gospel who have sound theological training and sound theological preaching, biblical preaching.
But to cut you short on that, Professor, there is this problem that you have seen, and because now you say there is a problem between sound doctrine